I'm Mike and Tiffany with That's Good Enough For Me.com. We're joined with Chris and Matt from Less Than Jake. We're doing our Who's Zoomin', Who's Here. Fuck.
That was perfect.
It's beautiful.
Keep the funk in there. It was great.
Oh, I'm absolutely keeping it. How are you guys doing today?
Awesome, man.
Good.
Doing great.
Fantastic. All right. Well, for starters, we recorded this before you released it, but yesterday, as according to this interview being posted, you guys released a new song and an announcement of a new record. I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. The single, Lie to Me, I've listened to quite a bit over the last 20 hours. I think it's a fantastic song.
Cool.
And I'd like to talk about Silver Linings.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's talk
Chris,
about it.
like to get, yeah, let's talk about, I guess, the production and the release first, Chris.
Well, you know, it's been a long time coming. You know, I think that we all wanted to get the record out sooner, but you know, Mother Nature had other plans. So we basically, the record's been a long time in the making. Matt's been with us now for 2 years. So basically, when he got in the band, it wasn't too much later. We started working on demos for the album. So this is going back to January, February of 2019. So started putting songs together, and we had our first rehearsal that summer with Matt, Roger, and I down in Gainesville, just working out some stuff. And finally, in between tours here and there and coming home and working on the stuff, we finally recorded the album in late November, or November and into the first week of December of 2019. So we've been sitting on it for a minute, and we're anxious to get it out.
Great. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, I've talked to a lot of bands that have had albums that they've either sat on or pushed out early. I've interviewed some bands that have released some albums with absolutely no celebration of sorts, because, you know, they came out like March or April. Depressing. Greg,
yeah, it's a weird time for it, man. We seriously sat on it for a while. We didn't know, okay, do we put it out? Do we wait? At first we were in the mindset of, you know, we'll wait a little bit because I'm sure touring will start back up again. And then as that keeps creeping further and further away, we're like, you know what? We should just put this thing out.
No, that's great.
We had like 4 different release dates this year. You know, initially we were thinking April. Last year we'd get it out in April or May, and just kept getting pushed back. And at this point, you know, to go with what you were saying about the excitement, it's like for us, everything's kind of died down, and we're all going to be excited once it's out and the fans hear it. That'll reinvigorate us. But it's like we've been sitting on this record forever. It's kind of old hat in a sense, because it's been, you know, it's been recorded for almost a year. But as soon as the fans hear it, that'll excite all of us again.
Oh, certainly. And Lie to Me, kind of the aesthetics of the song. I mean, there's a lot of different sounds that Less Than Jake has dipped into over the years, but there's an element of hope to it, I think. The writing, it's when it finishes, especially with the ahs at the end, you're like, God damn, I'm so happy I listened to this song. So I think just the optimism that you guys are capable of achieving in your songwriting is something that we all really need right now. So, I mean, I was stoked to hear the song. I had no idea a new album was coming out. So I'm super excited.
Cool.
Who produced the record? Where was it engineered? It sounds squeaky clean.
We actually did it at Roger's studio, Moat House in Gainesville. So,
Okay.
So we tracked it there, which we've, you know, Less Than Jake has tracked the last couple things there, and then Blasting Room mixed it. So, yeah. You know, it has the Blasting Room touch on it, but I mean, Roger does a great job, you know.
For those that may not know, the Blasting Room is where Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore. Bill plays in Descendants, and Jason pretty much mixed the record. So, and they've done a number of our projects, and he just keeps getting better, in my opinion. You know, the guy just kills it.
Agreed. And I'd like to talk about Roger's studio a little bit. I got to interview Jay Navarro from Suicide Machines, and we were talking about their new record, which also sounds amazing, done over there. Jay made it sound like, I don't remember how he put it. He said you could shoot a gun outside because it's such a remote area?
Roger actually went to Michigan to record the Suicide Machines record. He didn't do it in Florida. No, yeah, he went up to a studio up there that was really, from what I understand, really secluded, middle of nowhere. So, yeah, kind of like pitch black, you can see every star in the sky at night place. So it was like 30 miles outside of Detroit.
Okay. But on that topic, Roger does live in the middle of a jungle. So it's just a different kind of scenery, but yeah. It's also bizarre.
You'd hear the gunshot at Roger's house, but you wouldn't know where it's coming from.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, it's good to know. And I was always curious about Roger's recording studio, because I know you guys had kind of centrally started working there. And that's when your sound, that was the first time for me as a fan that your sound started to kind of hone in, where I don't want to say the record started to sound the same, but you knew exactly where your tones were. Whereas, I mean, I'm old enough to remember the significant change in sonic quality when Hello Rockview came out. And then, of course, the different flavors that followed. Your Fat release sounded particularly different to me as a listener. And then, of course, by the time you hit Anthem, you were recording in major studios, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, it was just really had to boil down to just different producers. You know, we really hadn't changed, you know, starting from About Borders or Anthem. And I think we've always progressed as a band, as players, but, you know, we kind of are what we are as a band. We kind of have our sound. But, yeah, it was just using different producers and different studios, really. I mean, we didn't really get consistent with recordings till the last 10 years. And that's what we've been doing our projects all at Roger's, studio in Gainesville. But prior to that, it was, you know, from Pezcore on, it was kind of all over the place.
I dig it. I think as a listener, I always think it's super important. I'll bring up the Vandals, I guess, is a good example of this. If you put Vandals on shuffle on your computer, you know exactly what album you're listening to when a song comes on as soon as Warren's guitar comes in. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
So I applaud you guys for that, but I'm also happy that you're recording, you know, in your family now and taking care of it yourselves. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get a little too close on ideas of certain things, and it's like, you wish you had that outside person to go, no, what do you guys? You guys are crazy. It should be this way. But there's a lot of great that comes out of it too. You know what I mean? It's very close knit. So.
Plus, playing together for so long, you guys probably all know each other's tricks and each other's, I'm going to say, voice musically. So it's probably easy to say, hey, you know what, maybe if you tried this and this part, and you go, well, hey, maybe that might actually work. Sorry, quick little ramble there. But yeah, I mean, I imagine that's something that
you're right. Yeah,
playing for so long, and that it's easier to hone in and, you know, just edit the way your songs are being put together just from knowing each other for.
Oh yeah, everybody can pretty much finish each other's sentences, you know?
That's what I was going to say. You know, what I'm alluding back to what Matt was saying is what he was alluding to was basically, you know, we know what each other's instincts are and where we're going to go with things, which is great. And it makes the process faster. But sometimes it'd be cool to have a different set of ears and opinion. But that's very scary because you have problems then outside of the band. If you clash with a producer, which we have in the past, it's not a fun studio environment. Whereas, you know, we can go F you, walk out of the room, and 10 minutes later it's like, hey man, can you try this? You know, and we're really good at that.
It's true. That's true.
That's great. And Matt, I will add, you know, you're the new guy in the band.
Yeah.
One song in, and you're playing less than Jake drums. You're playing exactly what a fan of the band wants you to be playing. So that's always a weird thing when you're a new member and just kind of paying homage to the sound that the band has had for so long.
Absolutely. And that was the biggest thing for me starting to play with these guys is I just being with them so long before I was actually playing, I've got to hear pretty much the entire catalog for so many years that I know what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? And I may throw some things in here and there, but I'm pretty true, you know? It still has to sound like Less Than Jake. So I get it, you know?
Absolutely. And then to kind of string off of the recording situation over the last couple of years, I've been playing the new Tony Hawk Pro Skater game like my family's going to leave me because I can't stop. and so I've been able to listen to your Bomb Drop song a lot, which is, I'm always looking forward to it. I wanted to applaud that song, and I wanted to applaud that music video. One, because it's really good. Two, people don't really care that much about music videos anymore, to the point that, you know, it's just all lyric videos. So I literally remember the day that video dropped, because I was like kind of having a shitty day. I think I decided the job I had at the time was a shitty job, and I was finally ready to like make a resume. And then I saw that video, and I was like, by the end of it, I felt so uplifted. I appreciate you guys all over again. So,
well, that's cool.
So, any videos in the works for the new album? I guess you're going to have to buy each other green screens or something.
Well, yeah, I was going to go into that when you started talking about that video. We do have a video for Lie to Me that'll be launched on the 1st as well. October. Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Or I shouldn't have said that, you know.
Which is yesterday.
Which was yesterday. Yeah. So, but we had to do it a little bit different. Was, you know, Chris actually lives outside of Knoxville, Tennessee now, and I'm in Nashville, and the girl Natalie that did the new Dolly Parton video is doing our new video, and she's located in Nashville. So Chris came here and we filmed our stuff, and then the other guys had to do theirs kind of on their own, send it to her, and then she's doing a lot in post to make it look cool, you know?
Yeah. I drove 3.5 hours and I was on camera for 10 minutes.
Yep. It was great.
But it was cool. I didn't want to try to film this with an iPhone, and I just knew I wouldn't be as energetic and, you know, rocking as if I had someone there that was going to do the video. So I had to ham it up a little bit.
Yeah. Worth the drive.
Oh yeah. It was a good choice. Yeah.
And if there's any positive, and I mean, this exact YouTube channel and has a lot to say for it, but when everything came back to being guerrilla style, it was kind of a great feeling for me, because it was like, you know, I was talking to other bands and other people, and it's like, no, you just do it your fucking self. It's the way that we used to do it.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch fans try to figure out, like, oh, what is it that we used to do? Well, you used to just do it all yourself. You had your own camera and your own friends and just people around you. And well, speaking of, do you guys have any interesting new ways, aside from new music video, are you guys planning for any kind of digital live show? Maybe not a live stream, but recorded sets? Because that seems to be the way most bands are moving now. There's a
lot that we'll be doing. We can't give it all away yet, but there will be some stream things and some other fun stuff. And we did something called the Lost at Home session so far, that are 3 songs so far that we did, you know, at each of our studios or whatever. We recorded our own parts, and that's been kind of fun. And we'll probably end up doing some more of that, like during these breaks.
And we did 3 songs for that. Those came out pretty much May, June, and July, and we'd probably be up to 5 or 6 songs now, but we had to put the brakes on it because we got the record coming out. We didn't want to cross contaminate, so that's why we kind of stopped. Otherwise, there'd be probably more songs at this point.
Cool. And I guess this is a good transition for you, Tiffany, for your question. Goldfinger, John Feldman, they've been putting out some really good videos, revisiting old songs, having special guests. And Tiffany, your question was related to Feldy, so.
My question was related to Feldman, and also really, Chris, your podcast. I listen nearly every week.
Thank you.
Amazing. You're welcome. It's amazing to hear these stories and to hear how excited you are, even though you've worked with, you know, any number of these musicians for so long. But it's exciting to hear you get excited to talk about a song, to talk about you learning these individual parts and maybe guitar parts that you've kind of passed over. Sorry, gushing a little bit about the show. It's a really great show. But the episode with John Feldman was just so eye-opening to me, because I couldn't believe that just his one small little connection to a studio and a major label at that one point in time managed to just explode into just as big as ska could have ever possibly have been in the 90s, and I just had a question mixed in there somewhere. But really, what was it like to just know that that doorway was about to open, and what was it like to look through the doorway of major success in a genre that really wasn't popular ever in that form or at that time?
I mean,
like, that's a really long, deep question, but you can find.
No, it's a great question. It was amazing. I got the Devil's Night Out, the first Boss Tones record, 1990. So I was still in high school, and our old drummer Vinny had gotten a copy from a guy that ended up becoming a roadie for us, for Less Than Jake, for a while. And I got this, as I always did, these 5th generation cassette copies. There's a bunch of white noise and hiss on it. And I remember listening to that thing, and I played the hell out of it. And I started playing it for people. And I was playing it for people that, were kind of just like radio kids. They didn't really know about punk rock. And I'd play them, Bad Religion, Circle Jerks, Misfits. And they kind of but when I put the Boss Tones on, it was something about the horns. It was something about it was danceable. And I saw the writing on the wall as early as probably 91. I'm like, there's something here. There's something that's going to be, this is going to have its day. And it wasn't too much longer after that. It was, Boss Tones hit in 97, but it was starting before then. 94, 95, 96 were really pivotal years for ska punk, and it was really it was cool, and I don't want to say that I saw the writing on the wall or take credit for. I'm not taking any credit, but I knew. I was like, there's something undeniably real and catchy, and the message was positive, and it was resonating with people that my other music wasn't resonating with.
Yeah, I think there is something to say about the ever expansive theme of positivity that resonates throughout ska, because as someone who grew up going to Less Than Jake shows when I wasn't going to, my tough guy punk shows where I wanted to just, get thrown around. Like, there was something about being able to go to a Less Than Jake show, a ska show, where it was just a bunch of people who were there to dance, they were there to sing together, and they were all there for the same reason. I felt like a lot of the posturing and a lot of the aggression wasn't there, and it's a much more welcoming scene.
Yeah, it was always a welcoming scene. I always felt that. I always felt that it was a little less abrasive than the hardcore punk scene. It was, and early on I was starting to see, again, different types of people showing up, guys in the fraternity and some cheerleaders or whatever, people that weren't going to the punk shows.
Love the Boss Tones.
Yeah, so you were starting to get people that weren't into the harder stuff, and it's kind of spoke to everybody, and that was one of the things that attracted me to it.
Now, I don't know if you guys are buddies with any of the Blue Meanies. The guys that played in that band. But I had read a story once about how far ahead they got when ska died professionally. The guy that had stuck his neck out for them for so long, I think he had passed away, where he was an A&R guy. And so the label was like, we don't know what to do with your weird band, so we're going to buy you out or whatever. What do you guys want? And from what I read, they said, well, we want all of our CDs, all of our merch. You need to make us a studio at our house, and then we'll just sign this and walk away. I think they got an RV out of it too.
Hell yeah.
And so it was a decade ago that I read it, so I don't know too much about it, but it's just interesting to see the multiple paths that bands could have taken from that high moment and on. Very happy that you're doing it independently now. But yeah, those guys walked away with a golden goose.
Well, everybody kind of has a similar story of that time period. Similar story in the sense that everybody had a choice. It was either, okay, because, ska went like this, and it just, by 2000, it's like people were dropping their horn sections and things were dying off. But I think the one thing that kind of saved us was the fact that, you know, we were never a California band. You know, we were from Florida. We were always the black sheep. So when we were cutting our teeth in Florida in 92, 93, 94, you know, we were showing up to venues and there'd be like a thrash metal band, and then there'd be like a Pearl Jam clone band, and then there'd be Less Than Jake. So we were playing, and that kind of extended after that. You know, we started going out on tours and stuff, and early on, we were aligning ourselves with different types of bands. We didn't just want to play with ska bands or just punk bands. So, and we kept evolving, and we took tours with Bon Jovi, and we took tours with Linkin Park and Snoop Dogg, and we took tours with Good Charlotte, and just things that were left of center of us to, you know, because our whole thing was we wanted to continually play in front of a new fan base. And a lot of the bands that we were running with in the 90s that were ska bands, they didn't want to leave that bubble, and you know, a lot of them aren't around anymore because of it.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I'm 36, so this was all happening when I was in high school. So, you know, I specifically remember JR and Buddy, or the guys from Mad Caddies, not like suddenly picking up synths and being like, okay, these guys are here. These guys are here for the right reason. And even as a fan of the genre and the music, it became quite obvious who cared about their craft and who wasn't going to just, you know, kick out their best friends just to stay on the radio somehow.
Well, and they definitely, I mean, Chris, I remember you saying it. What was it? I couldn't remember if it was A&R people or the label or who was, but there were definitely some thoughts of, you know, you guys got to ditch the horns on certain things, and it's just crazy. You know?
Well, but the thing that was weird about it is the people that were saying this, they weren't people. See, these are people that are crunching numbers at a record label. Their job is to sell records. And we always knew that. But those people, it's like, hey, I'll tell you what, you want us to ditch our horn section? I'll tell you what, you ditch your family for the next 180 days and get in the van with us and come cruise around, and we'll show you how important our horn section is. When you see 1,000 people, you know, at Tramps in New York City diving off the balcony and going completely mental and ape shit when our horns start playing, you come out with us for, you know, 180 days, and then if you still want to fire the horn section, we'll talk about it. You know, and to be honest, that we always knew that our bread and butter was going out and playing live, selling T-shirts and selling tickets. We weren't selling an astronomical amount of records. We sold respectably, but, you know, we weren't making the label a bunch of money. So it was very quick and easy for them to say, oh, you know, you guys got some songs here, but horns aren't, they used to use this word, horns aren't researching at radio. You know, they're not researching. Which meant that radio doesn't like horns, which was a bunch of baloney, in my opinion. You know, if the song's good enough, and if you want to do your job and put enough money, if you put the money that Warner Brothers put into Green Day and to us, you'll get the horns on the radio. You didn't do it. That's why the song didn't get on the radio. And that's not me being weird or you know, being egotistical. That's just the truth. Labels, not in all instances, but they have a lot of push to make or break a band. And
so absolutely.
When we would hear stuff like that, it was kind of in one ear and out the other because we lived on the road, you know.
Mm. Oh, and yeah, I mean, fast forward 2020, there are like 7 successful radio musicians now, you know.
Yeah.
All right, Foo Fighters, Ariana Grande featuring Dave Grohl. I can't name anyone else. 21
Exactly.
Pilots. I think that's it.
Simple. So,
Yeah.
no, my wife and I finally got rid of our 3-year-old for a night last weekend. It's been
lucky.
It's been tough going. No, and so we, you know, got drunk and watched MTV, and we decided that we want to adopt a corgi and name it Pitbull after the rapper.
Why not?
Okay.
So transitioning from Pitbull.
Real smooth.
And going back to you know, early Boss Tones, I kind of wanted to talk about the mystique of I've been talking to a lot of older artists about the mystique of ska punk and the mystique of releases. You know, to take it your new album, you're going to be able to announce this new song, this new release. It's all online. Everybody's going to look forward to it. I'm going to listen to it at midnight on Spotify when it comes out, you know. But I remember finding out that Hello Rockview came out while I was in like my second class of the day, second period, and somebody told me in rural Nebraska, somehow somebody found out that Hello Rockview got released. And by 8th period, we knew whose friend's car we were all going to hop in and drive 45 minutes to go buy the record, right? That kind of mystique is gone now. And then just to super nerd out, Chris, I was going to ask you the Negative Space secret track on Losing Streak, Howie. Who the fuck came up with that idea? Was it a weird engineer that knew that this technology was available?
I can't, someone's asked me that question recently. I can't remember exactly how it happened. Somebody had told us, it's kind of like there's a way to do this. I can't remember exactly who we heard it from. And we might have gotten the CD. It might have already been done. But we were always into just pushing the envelope and doing wacky stuff. And that was just another extension of us just being like, hey, what can we do here? And we made a contest out of it, and people were writing us, and Capitol made a contest. And it was just all about building hype with the band and having fun. Really, that's what it had to do with.
Okay. And Tiffany, don't fucking judge me. But for me, you guys were the first people that ever did that. And then 311 did it. And then
they did? I'm going to sue them.
311 did it. Yeah, you should. But I just, and that kind of brings me back to the concept of mystique. And I was using the internet back then in a very primitive way, in a nerdier way than most of my classmates. But I don't remember how the fuck we found out that was even a thing. And then I remember there was like one person in town. Yeah, there was one person in town that had a stereo that you could do that with.
No, you have to be of a certain age to talk to people about. You guys are on the cusp. You're in your 30s. Like, I got a couple of years on you. If I were to talk to a kid that was 19 or 20 about this, they'd be like, what, old man? What are you talking about? Like, Mystique. Like, I go push a button. It's on my phone. Mystique. Who needs Mystique? They don't get it, but I get what you're talking about. I remember going to Hide and Zeke Records in Gainesville, Florida. I'm thumbing through, and I go, whoa. It was Green Day's second record, Kerplunk, CD. Like, what the fuck? I turn it over, and it says 1992 on it, or 91. I'm like, this is new. It's their first record, came out in 90. Went out and plopped the money down for it, and I go home and call my friend John. I'm like, hey, Green Day's got a new record. He's like, what? He's like, there's no way. What do you mean? Well, I haven't heard about it. Like, he had his ear on the ground. He used to read like all the magazines, Maximum Rock and Roll and Flipside and all these, and he was really in tune. And he's like, are you sure it's not a compilation? I'm like, dude, it's all new songs. And I was just, I had no idea that the record was coming out. And of course, they weren't on a major yet. They didn't have the machine behind them, but there was all the time things like that happening. And so consequently, I was at the record store probably every day for my first 2 years that I got to Gainesville. Literally, there was 3 different record stores. I was there every day, combing through. I didn't want someone else to get the record that came out, and I didn't know how long it was
one copy. I know.
Yeah, the one. Yeah,
absolutely.
I loved that. I loved new release day. It used to be every Tuesday. That was new release day, and you'd go, and the new releases. You'd see them the week before. What was going to be in the next week? You'd be anticipating, and it really. Whatever. I can't change anything. It's the way that music is digested now. People stream and everything else. But there was definitely there was more value to music then. You had to save up your lawn mowing money to get the CD or whatever job you were doing. It wasn't just like So there was something to be said about that. And one last thing I'll say real quick is I've talked about this before where. I distinctly remember getting records that I had saved up money for. It was my last $20. I go plop down the $14, $15 for the CD, and I get it home, and I'm kind of disappointed. And damn it, if I wouldn't listen to that thing 500 times to like it. And
absolutely.
And eventually it would grow on me. I'd be like, this isn't as bad as I initially thought it was, even though, 15 years later I go back and listen to it, it's a really shit record.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tiffany, I'll let you say what you were going to say, but I'm going to end this on my end by saying there was a kid, one of my best friends, he married my wife and I, but he was kind of a weird kid from Alabama, and we were showing him punk rock music, ska music, and he started kind of independently making his own choices, and we listened to Less Than Jake together. He bought the Bruce Lee Band record that you guys played the instrumentals of because he really liked Bruce Lee movies.
Yeah.
Man,
And
was
it
he must have
wasn't
been disappointed.
No, he showed up and was like, "Hey guys, I got a new ska record," and I was like, "Nobody's heard of this. Who's Mike Park? What the fuck is this?" And he puts it on. I'm like, "This sounds like Les and Jake." And I think we walked over to my dad's computer lab at the college to like get on the real internet to
get on the GeoCities page to find it.
And we found out that it was you guys, and suddenly my buddy Frank was a legend. So
He scored. He found the elusive. Yeah, that was a fun project.
I love that record. Tiffany, you can continue though. I'm sorry for interrupting it.
That's okay. This kind of a little bit piggybacks off of what Chris was saying about how kids now really don't have the same access to find things because everything is a stream. But I was thinking about, I'm 32 and I am of the few people in my age group who has had a computer for almost all of my life. I've been on the internet since I was maybe like 8. But, with all that notwithstanding, I think Yahoo had like a music video channel or some kind of music streaming. And then after a while, it allowed you to select videos by bands that you liked. And at that time, I think maybe Enema of the State had just come out in 1999. And I was maybe 11 or 12 at that time. And that kind of stuff really appealed to me. And I remember going through Yahoo Music and there was always the same batch of videos that came through. You would get the entire Fat Wreck catalog. You would get a million No Effects videos, a million No Use videos, and then I would constantly see the video for Gainesville, Rock City, and Dope Man. And I just kind of, in a time before pirating music really became a thing, that was my earliest access to, bands I would have never found here in Philly because I was too young and I didn't really know what I was looking for. And music that was catered to me then was more like, I hate to say boy bands, but boy bands in terms of like emo boy bands and guys singing songs about like murdering women and leaving them in the trunk. And it just wasn't the kind of thing that appealed to me. But there was something to a bunch of, just seeing, guys like you guys or seeing like guys in No Effects and even, No Use or any of those bands, just everyone looked like goons to me. And everyone just looked like they were having so much earnest fun and it wasn't hurting anyone. And I think that really appealed to me off the bat, and it definitely allowed me to start, branching off down different roads. I had a friend in Ohio that used to send me mixtapes. She would just send me like full burnt albums. I think I still have a burnt copy of Hella Rock Feud, like still mixed in my tape.
I think we all had those.
It was the time, it was the year, But yeah, I think there really is something strange about only having, the Spotify's. And I don't really use iTunes, but I imagine iTunes is the same. It's just these algorithms that tell you what it is you should like to, as Chris said, stay within your own bubble, even as a listener.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I'll add to that was Spotify. And it's only since I started writing for Punk News and doing these Zooms with That's Good Enough for Me, it's like, if I have an earbud in and Spotify, I'm listening to Les and Jake with one ear, of course, because my daughter's watching YouTube next to me while I'm working from home. But then suddenly a song will come on and I'll say, so this is what Bad Cop sounds like. I'm an asshole for not listening to them for 5 years because they're really good.
Well, that happens a lot. That happens a lot to me too. It's like something pops up and I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot.
Yep. Sure. So I have, as like a computer programmer, I have this respect for the algorithms that are like telling us what to watch and listen to now. And I'm confident that they're actually making pretty decent suggestions to me. But yeah, as like a guy that writes music and cares passionately about music, it makes me fucking pissed off.
Right. Because what are you missing? Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of missing certain bands and music, Matt, I wanted to talk to you about the Teen Idols.
Sure.
As briefly as I can. But I'm a big fan of the band.
Okay.
My first question is, if I Venmo you the $37 or whatever, will you put Nothing to Prove on Spotify?
Yeah. Oh, that would be great if it was on Spotify or pretty much anywhere, because what happened with that record though was really weird. We recorded it, it came out, and we broke up like the second, it was either right before it came out or like the week after it came out. So everything and all the plans just stopped for it. Yeah, so it was supposed to come out on vinyl, and everything just completely stopped. So I would like for it to be up there, but I guess Fuel by Ramen would have to do that because technically they still own it. So.
Oh. Well, yeah, I own it on MP3, and there's this audio engineering technique where you take an MP3 and turn it back into a wave.
I've heard of that.
It's really good for sound and the sonic quality.
Now you got I'm interested now. Maybe I could just put it up there until somebody yells at me.
That's what I would do.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a hip hop group called Diva. I don't know where they're from, but there's a hip hop group called Diva that keeps putting stuff on Spotify, and I get an email that a new Devo song is out. I freak out. And then it's that shitty fucking hip hop band, and then I think it gets taken down eventually. But
I was gonna say, it kind of just shows what kind of person Mark's Motherbow is. He's just like, who cares?
Yep.
Yeah, that's true.
That's funny. Funny you said that because I just had the same kind of thing happen with the Parasites. I got an update that there was a new Parasite song, and I was like, "There's a new Parasite song I didn't know about," and it's a band from Russia.
Oh, that's great.
Like, nope, not the same one. Okay.
Now, in closing, my Teen Idols discussion. Huge fan of the band,
Thanks,
and your double time on Bandwagon or Test Tube Teen, songs like that. Those are songs that I still go back to when I'm thinking about the Epiphat explosion of pick your favorite punk drummer, because I think that you really had a good handle on it.
Thanks, man.
But I wanted to talk about the production of Teen Idols as a band, because for me, as someone that still actively listens to 2020 pop punk,
yep.
Teen Idols were aliens when they were first heard. It was just this violently auto-tuned pop punk music, recorded, to the Epiphat guitar tone and kick sound, kick snare. How does it feel to essentially have written the legacy of all of the current auto-tuned pop punk bands, but they've never heard of the band before? It's something I think about every time I hear overly auto-tuned.
It's that the whole thing with the auto-tune was super weird too, because we did the first record. There's no auto-tune on that because there wasn't auto-tune yet. So
correct.
We did that one. It was all, normal tracked vocals. When we did Pucker Up, Mass had just got one of the first auto-tune units that he was waiting for it. He was in line for months and months and months. And it was probably, I guess, around the time of Enema of the State and that kind of stuff, right? So super whatever. So I don't think, especially on Pucker Up, that was him getting used to even using it. So our record, and I think it was 88 Fingers Louie, whatever record they released right around that same time, we were in the studio back to back. And if you listen to both of those records, you could be like, whoa. Because now I have a hard time. I hate to say this. I have a hard time listening to some of Pucker Up, especially because it's just you just hear the steps down, and it sucks because the harmonies were great. They could pull them off. You know what I mean? It didn't have to be that crazy tuned. To me, it was as if you guys owned it. For me, when I was telling my friends about Pucker Up, I was like, it's this futuristic fucking, these greasers that are from the future, and they're coming to fight their greaser homage. I don't know. I mean, yes, that's exactly what we were doing.
Did you say that Teen Idols were ahead of the curve of even Cher?
Yeah.
Well, that's
was your mind blown when you heard that song?
It's funny that on the end of Pucker Up, there's a bunch of extra stuff, and there's Heather doing the Cher thing at the very end just by herself, because that was the first time we had ever been in a studio with that. We didn't even know what it was, so it was we were playing with it too. You know what I mean? It's this brand new toy, and then you listen to the record 10 years later, and you're like, man. There was no, but that's what I appreciated. That's what I appreciated about it was to put the naked
auto-tuned a cappella at the end of the album, and the secret track was like, they know they're doing it. They're not afraid to say that they are. Because around the time that Tiffany and I probably started recording music, it was this thing that everybody did, but everybody pretended wasn't a thing. It was like triggers on the, it was like, you do it and you're like, I really sang that, by the way. And it's like, we know that you didn't actually sing 100% of that, and it's fine. It's just what everybody's doing now. Anyways, that concludes my super Teen Idols conversation.
Oh, well,
and
thanks.
That was tight and concise. That was good.
I practiced today while I was pretending to work from home. Chris, that B is for BSides mobile thing that was connected to your to your bus when you went on that tour for B is for BSides.
Yep.
Does that vehicle still exist somewhere?
That was just a wrap on a shitty minivan.
Oh, dude, and I hated that fucking van.
Yeah, because Matt had to put it on chains every night and get it back on the trailer.
I had to put it on the trailer every night. Sucked.
Yeah, the rest we'd all be completely shit-faced.
Yep. And so would I. So our bus driver Frank would be like, "Get out of there! I'll do it," and he would just end up doing it.
and let me tell you something, okay? Just to show you our career, Warner Brothers sends us out on the biggest tour of the friggin' summer. Linkin Park, Korn, Snoop Dogg, The Used, Less Than Jake, playing 20,000-seat amphitheaters sold out across the country, okay? And they sent us out promoting a B-Sides record.
That's true. That's true.
In a fucking green and yellow van. You could see this thing coming from 4 miles away. It was such an eyesore. And we'd pull up, be cruising around backstage. It was just like, oh my God.
Yep. But it was nice when we wanted to get off, just get out of there.
Oh, it was.
Let's go to the movies. All right.
It was great.
Well, to pay respects to, you guys played thousands of venues, but there was a place in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I live called Knickerbockers, and you guys played there.
Yep. And
it's a hole in the ground now where they're trying to build some weird bistro hotel thing. But I mean, it was a staple to my community. It was downtown where I worked at my first telemarketing job, so I'll never forget walking past Knickerbockers to go home before your show, and my buddy was like, "Fucking hot shots! Look at that minivan." And I figured it was a thing, but I had to ask about it because it was just too silly.
It was promotion for the record.
And I did.
Yeah, we had played that one-off in Lincoln from that tour.
Yep.
And actually, Snoop Dogg played Lincoln that night too.
Really?
Away from the tour. Yep. He was in Lincoln that night.
Although Snoop was just walking in and getting a pile of cash and walking out,
Yeah. we were playing Knickerbockers in our rental van.
Yeah. It was, hey, you brought it to capacity. That was a really special show for us.
Yeah.
So, and I think that shows I think that kind of shows the professionalism and what good of guys you are, to not just take a free hotel night off and to go play a sweaty ass, nasty ass show for Nebraskans. So,
well, especially when you're on a tour like that too. I mean, getting back to playing a club thing is actually a fun thing to do, because that was like, some of those shows were pretty stressful. You know what I mean? We're like, the band was going on early. Some days, like, the monitors just wouldn't work. Like, it was just wild.
Well, and we had to pay the horn section, and all the other bands fired in 2001. So. We had bills to pay, man. Hey, Knickerbockers, can you host a band tonight? We're in town.
Oh yeah. Oh, all right. That's kind of it for my questions. Tiffany, if you had anything else. Otherwise, I was just going to kind of talk about the road ahead, and this is a difficult question to ask anybody over the last 7 months. But you got the album, you got the song that was out yesterday. What are you looking at in the future?
Well, as far as touring goes, I mean, it's all kind of up in the air. We had a bunch of things that were in 2020 that we moved to 2021, that the earliest thing is supposed to be May of next year in the UK, and who knows if that's even happening now, so that may even get pushed back. we all talk weekly. You know, we do our weekly Zoom Less Than Jake call too. And, I think we're all in the same boat, and we all agree that we just have to plan as if there aren't going to be any shows next year. And then if there are, then that's a great surprise, but we have to be ready to be busy not doing that. You know what I mean? There'll be plenty to do. There'll be plenty of Less Than Jake things that happen, but it may just not be a live show, which sucks because we all really, really, really want to play live again. So, Chris, you want to add anything?
No, I mean, you pretty much summed it up. I mean, you got to remember that one thing that I am extremely proud of is that from 1992 up until this year, the band never took more than 2.5, 3 months off. And I say off, we were recording a record, or we were, someone was having, wife was having a baby in the band. We are road dogs. And when you do something, from the time you're 18 years old till to our current old age here, it's tough to have the rug pulled out from underneath you. That's our life. That's how we communicate. That's how we, it transcends money and career and everything else. It's every fabric of our spirit has been playing live for all these years. So it's definitely been very strange for all of us.
Absolutely. And good answers. Kind of expected answers, but we're all looking forward to the album. Could either of you, is this against the rules? Can you name your favorite song on the album?
Ooh. No, it's not against the rules, but I got to think about that one. Man, I don't know. Lie to Me is fun because it's just a little bit of a different feel for Less Than Jake. I mean, it still sounds like Less Than Jake, but there's some stuff on this record that's super horn heavy, which I really love, and I feel that way with Lie to Me. Keep on Chasing is another one that is a Chris song that it's just really, really fun to play on drums. So I'm looking forward to playing that live. So those two are probably neck and neck for favorite for me. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I definitely like both of those. There's a song called "Dear Me" that
that's another good one.
I really like, and I like the first track on the record. It's called "The High Cost of Low Living." It's a song that we wrote in the 11th hour. We were pretty much done recording, and I kind of bugged the guys. I said, "Come on, I got this idea," and we sat around and recorded or wrote it literally in an hour. It
was super quick. Yeah,
came together, and it's a lead-off track on the record. It's just a really, really fun song. It's about Gainesville and about basically working your ass off all week to go spend it in the bar on the weekend and get fucked up.
Hell yeah!
A lot of people can relate to that, especially being from Gainesville. So it's just a really fun song, and it came out great. And Matt, want to tip the hat to Matt. He played his ass off on this record, and that song in particular is some awesome drum fills and some really cool stuff. So I'm excited for the fans to hear it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. And what's one more time, the official release of Silver Linings is
December 11th.
December 11th. Never forget. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have been a pleasure. I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk with Tiffany and I, and we really look forward to the record, and have a great rest of your night.
Thanks for being
man.
fans. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for having us, guys.